Hello everyone, I'm Jess and this is my son Samuel, who I've been on maternity leave with for the last 9 months, and we, along with my husband Callum, are really excited about my becoming Associate Minister for Stockport and Brinnington in just over a week's time. And although I'll be licensed on the 29th of June, it will probably be some time before I actually get to meet some of you face to face, and so I thought I'd do a little video just to introduce myself, so this stranger just doesn't appear on your YouTube services in the next couple of weeks. I'm coming to you this morning from the Vicarage Garden in Bramall, where my husband is Vicar of St Michael's Parish Church, a daughter church, I believe, of St Thomas's, so it's nice for us to have that connection in my new post. But before we moved here, there's a long history going back for me, starting in Leicester, where I grew up with my mum and dad and older sister. In a Christian home, they took me to the Methodist church that they attended as soon as I was born, and I went along there every week with them as they were heavily involved. And so I was quietly loved and nurtured into faith as I was growing up. But as a teenager, like many teenagers do, began to question what it was really all about. And because there wasn't many young people in the church at the time, I became a bit disillusioned with the church. And so I had to make a decision. I came to a crossroads. And I decided that actually this church thing was really important and that I wanted to carry it on, but that I wanted to do it in a place where there were other people my age who could inspire and encourage me along the way. And so I moved to another Methodist church where I'd got some friends at the time, and that was a real important place for me, a place where people saw the gifts in me that I didn't yet see in myself, a place where people encouraged me to stand up and to speak up. And I'm really thankful to those people now, looking back over 10 years ago. And age 15, I had one of those kind of revelation moments where I really wanted to make this faith my own, and not just the faith that my parents had handed on to me. And so at a Christian festival, I gave my life to Christ, and it's been an exciting adventure ever since. Not always easy, but always filled with joy. And so I guess my faith has played a really important part in my life as I've been growing up, and it's been something that has influenced my decisions that I've made. And so when I was thinking about what to do with my life, age 17, I initially thought I would be a special educational needs teacher, but went to speak to a careers advisor at college about that, as there were only 2 universities which offered that course at the time. And she said to me, "Jess, I think you need to pick a subject and then specialise later." And it turns out that was the best advice that anyone could have ever given to me, because after deciding to go to Chester to study theology, simply because I enjoyed RE, I realised that teaching wasn't for me. And I was invited to join a vocations group as part of the chaplaincy at Chester, asking what it is God might be calling me to for my life. And at the time I didn't think that was ordination. In fact, I ran as far away from that question as possible, and yet that question kept coming up time and time again whenever I went to these groups. And I think the reason that I walked away from that call initially is because I didn't feel called to parish ministry. I didn't think I had the gifts, the skills to be a parish priest. And so I began to just explore with my chaplain at the time what it might be that God is calling me to within ordination, if indeed that is the thing he was calling me to. And I got to the end of my studies and had to think about what I was going to do job-wise, and I was applying for anything and everything really, but actually found myself applying for a chaplaincy position at King's College in London. I didn't really want to go to London, but it felt right to just apply. Didn't get the job initially, but then a couple of weeks later got a phone call to say that the person they'd appointed had dropped out and would I be interested. And I really wrestled with that, and I went on a walk around the Roman walls, as I often did when I was in Chester, and I just asked God to speak clearly to me about what I should do. And I remember that the image of Jonah came to my mind, and I remember it really clearly because that kind of thing doesn't happen to me all that often. And I remember it was as if God was saying to me, if you don't go to London, it's like Jonah not going to Nineveh. I've got a job for you to do there, and I want to speak to you while you're over there. And so somewhat reluctantly off I went, a massive change to go from Chester to London. But it turns out it was one of the most formative years of my faith journey so far. And that call to ordination was just affirmed in me and grew through the new experiences that I had there. And so when I came back to Cheshire to marry Callum and to see him ordained, I began to explore that call a little bit more seriously, and I undertook a voluntary placement in a parish just to get some experience of what parish ministry is like before going off to my selection conference and then being selected to train. And I trained at St Mellitus College in Liverpool Cathedral in such a way that I went to college one day a week, but continued at the parish I was volunteering at to gain more hands-on experience. And that was just a fantastic 2 years where I learned so much, and I am so much grateful. I'm in debt to those who taught me all that they did, and I couldn't be where I am today without them. Then it came to being ordained in 2017 and moving to a place called Bowden for my curacy, where I've just finished last week my curacy there. And again, that was a really interesting and demanding 3 years where I learnt so much and had so many different and varied experiences, including being on Radio 4, doing a baptism for a footballer's niece, all sorts of random and wonderful things that you just wouldn't expect to find in the ordinary everyday things of life. And so I'm really grateful for that experience, and I think it's really going to help me as I come to Stockport. And I'm really, really excited about coming to join you, to join Lynn and Marie and forming a team there to see what God might have us do together with you in the coming years. But I just thought I'd share with you why it was I applied for the role of Associate Minister. I first saw it advertised when it was a full-time post back in the spring of last year, and got really excited in reading the profile. But I just found out at that point that I was pregnant with Samuel, and so it felt like the right job but the wrong time. And so I decided that I wouldn't apply for it at that time. And then slowly over time God kept speaking to me about it. He kept giving us a heart for Stockport in particular. And then the post was advertised as a part-time role, and I thought, wow, is this the opportunity? Is God speaking to me through this? Because when I read the advert, the thing that impressed upon me the most was the fact that Stockport and your churches in particular seem the kind of places that I first felt called to when God called me to ordination aged 17. When God first called me to ordination aged 17, I had a particular heart for those on the fringes of church, for those who felt on the outside, for those who were cut off from ordinary groups in society, the last, the least and the lost. And that heart has grown over the years, but it is something that I've not been able to actually be involved with all that much, being in quite affluent and middle class parishes in leafy Cheshire. And so I'm really, really excited to get stuck in to do some hands-on ministry amongst you, particularly among the children and young people in our parish, and to see how God might be calling and equipping all of us to serve him in that place. I'd love it if you could join us, albeit virtually, for my licensing service, which is going to take place on Monday the 29th of June at 7:30. That will be the official start of my ministry among you, and although we won't have the big occasion that we would have otherwise had we not been living in the times that we are, it will still be a really significant moment for me, and I'd love as many people as possible to join me as we mark the start of this new and exciting adventure in Stockport. I look forward to meeting you in due course and to ministering alongside you. But for now, please do take care, stay safe, and God bless.